Regular listeners will have noticed I've been away from video game news circles for the last couple of weeks. The main reason for that is because I've been developing The Big Slice, which is another YouTube series, but one that's much more focused on specific stories, collecting information from various sites and theories and elsewhere on the internet, putting them together to see if we can get a clearer or better picture of what's going on or how things might develop. The other thing I've been developing is a Patreon exclusive series, so if you do want to listen to that, it is about video games, but in a much broader sense. How video games interact with other media, how other media affect video games, how society and technology can affect video games, those sorts of things. So now that you know what I've been doing over the last few weeks, let's find out what's been going on in video games. Hi, I'm Rob, and welcome to Gossy News. And yes, things have been happening. We had the Summer Games Fest, and all sorts of things came out. There was a new trailer for Final Fantasy XVI. I've done an episode on Final Fantasy XVI and what it means for the future of Square Enix as a company. I do have a second video coming out about Final Fantasy XVI, but that's mainly dealing with theories and the game itself. So, on with the news. And first up is a story that's been close to my heart for a while, and I will be doing an episode of The Big Slice on this topic in the next few weeks, and it's all about unions. Now, UNI Global Union has surveyed workers from 29 countries, and the report they've produced based on their findings, well, it makes for interesting reading. Apparently, 79% of games industry workers support unionization. That's over 3/4 of all the people who work on a non-executive level in the video games industry, which is quite a shocking amount, and that's across 29 countries. According to UNI Global Union General Secretary Christy Hoffman, this groundbreaking report reveals global trends of recurrent employee dissatisfaction that make working in the digital entertainment industry unfair, unequal, and unsustainable for many workers. Video games workers are coming to Berlin to deliver a strong message to the titans of the sector. It's time to fight for our rights. We are going union. And this is something that I've been wanting for a long time within video games. And the interesting thing about this is that it's hot off the heels of Activision Blizzard recognizing Raven QA Testers Union and beginning negotiations with them. Apparently, CEO Bobby Kotick confirmed what he is legally obligated to do and pledged good faith negotiations, but that's only to be expected. The weird thing is that this report comes at a time when Microsoft and the Communication Workers of America, the union that's kind of the parent of Raven Software's union, they've entered into a labor neutrality agreement. And because of that, the Communication Workers of America have dropped their objections to Microsoft buying Activision Blizzard because Microsoft have committed to 5 provisions that the Communication Workers of America wanted regarding Activision Blizzard employees. Those 5 provisions being that Microsoft will take a neutral approach when employees covered by the agreement express interest in joining a union. Covered employees will be able to easily exercise their right to communicate with other employees and union representatives about union membership in a way that encourages information sharing and avoids business disruptions. Employees will have access to an innovative, technology-supported and streamlined process for choosing whether to join a union. Employees can maintain confidentiality and privacy of that choice if they wish, and if a disagreement arises between CWA and Microsoft under the agreement, the two organizations will work together to promptly reach an agreement and will turn to an expedited arbitration process if they cannot. Those are 5 pretty strong provisions, but Microsoft and the CWA are actually planning to work further in their collaboration and will apparently be working on implementing technology and skill-building programs for the US labour force to enhance the country's competitiveness. And if Microsoft had taken a step forward and actually doing something more positive for low-level workers, then great. And if the CWA are supporting them and helping them do that, great. I'm all for it. But, going back to this report, it's kind of necessary at the same time, because if you look at the report, top workplace issues identified by video game workers: low pay, excessive work, inadequate benefits, lack of access to training and/or software, lack of job security, workplace discrimination and/or sexual harassment. Things do need to change. Unions do need to happen. Anyway, we're not going to dwell on unions because there is an episode of The Big Slice planned for that. We're going to move on to Activision Blizzard's idea that they're being fair and just. And this is in the wake of this report and all the other stuff about unions. According to an internal Activision Blizzard review, the company found no evidence that it ignored harassment. It also stated that media criticism of the board and Activision Blizzard senior executives as insensitive to workplace matters is without merit. Now, I'm not going to go into just how much scorn and ridicule this report has caused Activision Blizzard, because pretty much anyone who knows anything about video games has taken a look at this headline and gone, that's the biggest pile of bullshit Activision Blizzard has dished out since the last massive pile of bullshit that they dished out. According to Activision Blizzard's report, contrary to many of the allegations, the board and its external advisors have determined that there is no evidence to suggest that Activision Blizzard senior executives ever intentionally ignored or attempted to downplay the instances of gender harassment that occurred and were reported. Now, the report itself doesn't actually mention the Wall Street Journal's reports or any of the other allegations, any of the extraneous stuff. It sticks specifically to certain things. I'll link to it in the description below because it is an interesting read and it does give you an idea about how senior executives and board members at Activision Blizzard tend to think, and it may actually be the case that people in those positions from other big-name publishers and developers also think in a similar manner. Anyway, moving on to Diablo Immortal, or as most people have taken to calling it, Diablo Immoral, which again is an Activision Blizzard thing. Sorry to start off with so much Activision Blizzard bashing at the beginning of this, but it's a game that has made $24 million in just its first 2 weeks. So one might question as to how a game that's free to play can make $24 million in the first 2 weeks. Well, the answer lies in the fact that the game has been designed to have obscene practices when it comes to monetization. I'm talking like gutter level. The people who designed this basically need to be flogged and put in prison. And the reason why they make money is because at heart it's a good game, but it pulls you into paying through your nose. At one point, it was worked out that maxing out a Diablo Immortal character could cost you up to $110,000, and that the game's highest tier currency appeared to be available only via loot boxes, which is one of the most evil forms of monetization. I'm not going to say egregious or any nice words like that. It's downright evil. Which brings us on to how it's made so much money, and one of the reasons for that is, well, the big-name streamers who seem to really like the game and are okay with spending tens of thousands of dollars on Diablo Immortal, and before that, Lost Ark to a degree. I'm talking about streamers like Asmongold and Quinn69 and Rich Campbell, all of whom were on a recent episode of Allcraft with Josh Strife Hayes, who I have a lot of time for. Quinn69 admitted that he basically wasted $17,000 or thereabouts, and Rich Campbell $20,000. Those are obscene amounts of money that I don't even want to think about. Leaving that to one side, we're going to move on to Nintendo, which is another company that doesn't really like dealing with customers as much as people like to think. I know Nintendo has a lot of fans, but are Nintendo really consumer friendly? Can you honestly say that Nintendo fans, that Nintendo are consumer friendly? Because I really don't think they are. Now, according to a UK watchdog called Witch, 2 in 5 Switch Joy-Cons are affected by drift. Witch is calling on Nintendo to investigate these issues and repair faulty controllers free of charge. Now, this is according to a new report that Witch has published. The data comes from a YouGov survey that the firm conducted in March with 919 adults in the UK. Over half of the people who did report that they had a problem with Joy-Con drift shared that they'd experienced it within the first year of purchasing a classic Switch. And the problem still hasn't been resolved. Half of the console owners have said that they opted to replace the faulty device themselves, and Witch has basically called on Nintendo to commission an independent investigation into the causes of Joy-Con drift and to make the findings of said investigation public. It also wants the firm to commit to a no-quibble, free-of-charge repair replacement of controllers that have been affected by drift since 2017. It also wants Nintendo to promote this scheme so consumers can clearly access the support available for faulty hardware. Now, Nintendo has responded following the investigation and said the percentage of Joy-Con controllers that have been reported as experiencing issues with the analog stick in the past is small, and we have been making continuous improvements to the Joy-Con analog stick since its launch in 2017. Now, Nintendo go on to say that they always encourage consumers to contact Nintendo's customer support, who apparently will be happy to openly and leniently resolve any consumer issues related to the Joy-Con controllers. Which is weird, because if that was the case, I don't think the issue about Joy-Con drift would be as much of a problem as it's become. If your customer support was so good, and your policies were so good, Nintendo, this would be a non-issue. We wouldn't even be talking about it. All we would hear is people saying, Nintendo's customer service is fantastic. I had these problems, it's an ongoing issue, they've explained it to me transparently, they've been amazing. That's all we'd hear. But the fact that that's not the case suggests to me that maybe you're telling some porkies for some PR spin. Anyway, another controller that had stick drift problems was the PS5 controller, but those problems were nowhere near as widespread as Nintendo's. And there are ways to fix the PS5 controllers, but we're not talking about stick drift anymore. Instead, we're talking about the fact that Sony are reportedly planning to announce new hardware, including a PS5 Pro controller, but a new console isn't being lined up for a reveal. This is according to a report published in Tryhard Guides, with industry insider Tom Henderson claiming to have heard from several sources that Sony is going to be unveiling new hardware at the end of June. According to the rumours, the new controller is going to look like the original PS5 controller, but it's going to have removable stick units, trigger stops, a removable grip, and rear buttons that act like flappy paddles or the scuff controller type things. All of which puts me in mind of the Xbox Elite controller, and I think it's about time PlayStation had their own pro-level controller. Meanwhile, Epic Games have released dev tools to enable crossplay between Steam and Epic Games Store, with support for other stores coming. Now, Steam and Epic Games have kind of been in a rivalry for a while. Steam basically holds the dominant position on PC. Epic Games really wants to take the dominant position of Steam, but it's fighting an uphill battle. It's also fighting against Apple and Google and whoever else they're fighting against. But this is one of those rare moments where collaboration, I think, shows you a way forward for video games. The new Epic Online Services SDK includes tools that let developers enable crossplay between players on Epic Game Store and players of the same game on Steam, which is wonderful. It basically means that you aren't tied down to either Steam or Epic Games for particular games. If you've got friends playing the same game on a different launcher, you can basically play with them. According to a post on the Epic developer site, Epic Online Services crossplay now works seamlessly on Steam and Epic Game Store, enabling Steam players to search from over 500 million friends, connect and play. Now, the great thing about what Epic have planned for this crossplay system is that they want to work with other digital storefronts so that crossplay can become enabled on those as well. They also want support for Linux and Mac OS for desktop computers, and they also want to enable crossplay between PC and console games. Now, that's an amazing thing, because that means that it doesn't matter which platform you play a particular game on, you can play with your friends who are playing on other platforms. Moving on to Ubisoft, who have announced that they will unveil the future of Assassin's Creed in September. Apparently, a new roguelite-inspired mode is also coming to Assassin's Creed Valhalla this summer. Now, speculation is rife as to what the future of Assassin's Creed is going to be. Most people seem to think that this new announcement is going to be a live service of some kind, which would be a fair bet since live service seems to be the way that most of these companies want to go. I hope it isn't. I hope it's taking Assassin's Creed in a new direction, but you never know. They've got to make money, they are a business after all. We'll watch this space and keep you informed. Anyway, moving on to Capcom, who have officially announced Dragon's Dogma 2, and my god, you kept us waiting. According to the announcement, director Hideaki Itsuno has said, "Sorry to have kept you waiting. Apology accepted, now just make the game good." Unfortunately, no game details were revealed during the live stream that Capcom did, and in a follow-up statement, Capcom did say that Dragon's Dogma 2 will begin the cycle anew, and confirmed that the sequel is going to be developed using the RE engine. Now, I'm a huge fan of Dragon's Dogma Dark Arisen. I absolutely adore that game. Played it to death on the PS3, played it to death again on the PS4. If they release a PS5 version, I will play that to death again. I am really, really stoked about the news of a sequel to Dragon's Dogma. I'm really looking forward to it. Which isn't the only thing I'm looking forward to, because I'm ending this episode on a weirdly happy note. It's great. Most of you younger gamers won't know who Treasure are, but the Dreamcast owners among you, you know exactly who Treasure are. There's only about 10 people working for Treasure now, but they're apparently working on a highly requested title to celebrate 30 years. And the last time they released a new title was in 2014. There's loads of speculation about what this new highly requested game is going to be. The betting money is on Ikaruga. Some people think Gunstar Heroes or Bangai-O. Other people think Radiant Silvergun. Personally, I'll be happy with anything from Treasure, but I won't say no to another Ikaruga game. Just saying. Okay, that's it for the choice cuts from this week. Let me know what you thought about the topics we've covered in the comments below. I'm always interested in finding out what people think. I'll be back on the next episode of Ghostly News or on The Big Slice, or you can catch me on my new Patreon exclusive thing, the first episode of which is available now to our patrons. If you are interested in supporting the channel, then Patreon is a great way of doing that. With that said, I'll see you all again soon, and thanks for listening.